Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 16130 South Ivell Road here in Beaver Creek. We are located just to the left of the front doorway. There's the crawl hatch. Anyway, the little landing here just before going up the steps, it's movable. There's a 3-inch ABS cleanout underneath. This is actually very well designed. This style of home these can be very difficult to hunt down if even have an access like this. So anyway, we're going to drop in here and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Waters are running. We're going to zero out right here at the base of the cleanout. And it looks like the tank here is pretty darn close in. Appears to be right on the edge of the gravel driveway, pretty much straight out from the front door. Well, that is a proper install right there. After doing, I can't tell you how many thousands of septic lines, I can almost always tell you when I'm within 5 feet of a septic tank, because nearly, it's probably 80% of septic lines, whether they're new or old, we'll get a belly in about the last 5 feet. And that doesn't make it a good thing because the consistency is just a very common problem. This thing is graded beautifully. No standing water whatsoever that I've seen. So we're going to locate really quick just to verify that the tank is where we think it is here, and then we'll pull back once the line's drained.
Change your car?
Where's this water coming from?
They told me to take it to the ship.
Now, we've got a tub inside that just wants to, it's taking a long time to drain out. That stopper doesn't plug properly, and I think there's some gunk built up in the drain. So I'm gonna start pulling back in slow here, just because there's so little water moving through the line, it's not blocking my view of anything. And if there were standing water, it'd be very obvious. Then the line looks like it bumps out to 4-inch pipe right before the connection to the tank. So I say that just from the standpoint of if you ever did do additions onto the house and add bathrooms, once you upgrade to enough fixtures and toilets, you have to bump up the size of the diameter of the pipe to 4-inch diameter once you get to a certain point, should you ever do that anyway. So unfortunately, this is one of those where if all that happened back here at the house and it wasn't like a ADU line running over to the tank and tying in out there, that does require you have to trench the front up here to bump the size of the pipe up, but it's like the easiest line in the world to get to. It's at the start here, you're probably 3 inches deep. The line's exposed coming out of the house. At the deepest point, you're 1 foot 6 inches. So make sure the line runs pretty darn straight over to the tank. You can eyeball it very easily if you see where the clean out is and where the tank lid is. Don't park anything or build anything over the top of this line. You don't want to park cars on top of it, especially consistently, nor do you want to do anything like build a shed or something over the line. At depths like this, my assumption is it was installed well. There's no settling that's taken place, but I don't want to see anyone try and put that to the test. At only, you're 6 inches to 1.5 feet deep. It does not take a whole lot of weight consistently in one spot to cause a line like this to settle, especially if there's anywhere where the line was not bedded ultra well. The line has very little weight on top of it to begin with, so anyway, just be aware of that. Don't want to go ruin a perfectly good sewer line. And I just ran backwards there, looking good going back into the house. A little bit of grease buildup going back in there, but pretty minor stuff. It's actually quite a clean sewer line relative to most, and you would think most septic lines would be ultra clean, absolutely grease-free. Unfortunately, that is often not the case. But relative to most homes, septic or not, quite a clean sewer line. And my camera's busted up most of the gunk that's in here, so most of this will slough off the pipe. just with regular water flow the next couple days. So no need to clean it out. It's not at that point anyway. Little teeny bit of standing water that stops there at about 8 feet. We're going back under the home right now. You've got about the world's tiniest belly here. This thing is hardly even worth talking about. It's so small. And some of it may actually be related to a little bit of the grease bumps in the line, but you've got like from 4 to 8 feet here. You're between a 32nd and a 16th of an inch of standing water. That's essentially nothing. And about the only thing you will ever consistently see hanging up in a belly that tiny is if you're putting a fair amount of cooking oil and grease down the pipe. You can see how it's concentrated in this location here where it's not quite as thick in other spots. Grease will build up anywhere in a sewer line, but it tends to concentrate in standing water areas. You can see how right here on the other side of the belly, we're just outside the house right now, how much cleaner it is. That's because the fats rapidly cool down when they hit cold water. Especially underneath a home where you're often using hot water to, wash your dishes off. But once it hits that cold standing water that's been sitting there, things start to harden up quickly, and the fats also float to the top of the water and then stick to the sidewalls. So it's something you want to avoid in general, but especially on septic lines. If you're newer to septic systems, what I tell most people is a rule of thumb to live by in general on your average home. If you've got enough grease or oil on your pans, that if you turn that pan sideways, if there's enough oil on the pan that it runs off the pan in beads or worse, it's at that point you want to do something about it. A thin coating of PAM spray, for instance, is really no big deal in most circumstances. Hot water and soap handles that. However, when it comes to septic lines, your average line out there, if you get grease buildup, you jet blast into the main lateral, off it goes to the city for them to deal with. With a septic system, you can keep your line clean, you can jet it out all you want, but inevitably, every bit of fat and whatnot that goes down this thing ends up in the septic system. It has nowhere else to go. So you want to avoid as much as possible any fats at all from getting down the line, even your thin coatings of PAM spray. Again, not a huge deal. But in cases like this, you want none of it going down the line, because what happens is that fat can get into the septic system, floats to the top of the water, and then it can float off into the drain field. And if you have that happening consistently enough, the fat's can end up clogging up the drain field, and it won't drain proper. And you can theoretically clean out drain fields, but it's very, very difficult to do, and it's very expensive. It's not like your average jetting where you just run it through the clean out. You often have to do a lot of reverse jetting to drag everything back into the septic or into a pit you've dug into the ground, and then suck that grease out with a shop vac or a septic pump truck, something of that nature. It's a lot more involved. So you're best to just not put it down there at all. Anyway, that's the PSA on grease. As we sit here today, we have good flow all the way to the septic tank. All the pipe we just scoped there is in good condition, has good flow, and is functioning properly at this time. Again, the belly there going back into the home from 4 to 8 feet is far too minor, in my opinion, to require repairs. Bellies of that nature have almost no bearing on flow whatsoever. Unless, of course, you're putting, again, a lot of improper stuff down the line, grease, stuff like that.